Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Air Vice Marshal Michael Kitcher. Air Vice Marshal Kitcher is joining us today as one of his final duties in uniform after more than 40 years of service in the Australian Defence Force. Sir, we thank you for your service and wish you well in your future endeavours. This evening we are honoured to acknowledge General Romeo S. Browner Jr., Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, accompanied by General Angus Campbell, Chief of Defence Force, and the accompanying delegation. We also warmly welcome Commodore Aaron Nye, representing Headquarters Joint Operations Command. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of Mountains Christian College from Blackheath, New South Wales. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem. Students, please be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It could also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the memorial's gallery entrance. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Private Manson William Frank Butcher. Manson Butcher was born on the 18th of September 1922 in the Perth suburb of Palmyra, the son of Frank and Frances Butcher. He attended East Fremantle Primary School and later Perth Modern School, and played junior football with East Fremantle Football Club. In 1941, he entered Teachers College and was a trainee teacher when he enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 24th of November 1941. Private Butcher soon joined a training battalion and was allocated to reinforcements to the 2nd 4th Machine Gun Battalion. On the 15th of January 1942, Butcher embarked from Fremantle, bound for overseas service. Disembarking in Singapore on the 24th of January, he arrived shortly before the convoy carrying his battalion. It was not long before the men were in action. Butcher and other men of his group of reinforcements were allotted to Echo Company, and on the 7th of February joined the Special Reserve Battalion. The following day, the Japanese attacked Singapore. The Special Reserve Battalion was put on standby the day after the attack and began preparing equipment and getting ready to move. The men moved up to join the 2nd 29th Battalion, who were covering Tenga Aerodrome, but it soon became apparent that the enemy was too numerous to be contained. As the men withdrew, there was confusion. In the early hours of the 11th of February, the Special Reserve Battalion found itself almost entirely surrounded. At first light, Japanese forces mounted a strong frontal attack, and it was decided to withdraw through Bukit Timah, clearing the village with bayonets if necessary. Outnumbered, isolated, and with confusion over positions, some men found themselves behind Japanese lines, and others became mixed up with units, and there were many casualties. Beginning with some 220 men, of the Special Reserve Battalion, only about 80 members escaped back to Singapore. Among the dead was Private Butcher. Initially reported as missing in action, he was later reported as a battle casualty, presumed killed on the 11th of February 1942. With no known grave, today he is commemorated on the Singapore Memorial, which bears the name of over 24,000 casualties of the Commonwealth Land and Air Forces who have no known grave. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my left, among some 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Manson William Frank Butcher, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.